There's a really great analysis in Raw Story about Donald Trump's policy positions. I know you might be shocked to hear that Donald Trump has policy positions. It was shocking to me to hear as well. He does have some, and there's an analysis in Raw Story which points out that many of them are either completely impossible, delusional, or flat out against the law. This is just the best. Let's go through a couple of them. As MSNBC reported, Donald Trump promised to get rid of corporate taxes and replace them with a 20% tax on imports and a 15% tax on companies that outsource. That would be against the law, Lewis. So that one is out. The 20% tax would be an absolutely straightforward violation of probably every trade law in the U.S., according to Joshua Meltzer, who's a fellow in global economy and development at the Brookings Institute. Two other economic experts agreed. So there's one big idea from Trump, illegal.
Okay, yeah, I don't like that one. If you're worried about companies outsourcing, I think there are some better ways to go about handling that.
Donald Trump says he could have prevented Ford from building new manufacturing plants in Mexico by imposing a 35% tax on vehicles made in Mexico. Unfortunately, Lewis, that is also against the law. As USA Today points out, that would violate the North American Free Trade Agreement. And by the way, only Congress can impose taxes anyway. So yet again, no dice for Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, of all people, should be aware of the framework set up to protect big corporations in this country, right?
And he should be aware also of the rules with regard to Mexico because his menswear line, it was produced there for a very long time. Then he went on to say that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, is a, quote, big, fat, horrible lie and a total catastrophe. The problem there is he would replace it with something almost identical. As Bloomberg reported, Trump's ideas include competing private plans, protecting hospitals and government plans for low-income people who get sick. President Obama's Affordable Care Act already does all of these things. So not an illegal suggestion by Trump there, but one that is absolutely silly. Why would you go through the trouble of replacing the Affordable Care Act with something that's essentially identical? And then lastly, we've talked about this one. Donald Trump claims he would bring jobs back from China and Mexico. We talked about this last week. A vast portion of those jobs just don't exist anymore. Those jobs aren't anywhere to be brought back. There's just been an elimination, a disappearance of manufacturing jobs. So yet another one of Trump's ideas that is just, it's on cloud nine, Lewis. It's just not based in reality.
Not really based in reality. He does have one idea that I think many Americans loved, though, and that is building the giant wall.
Right. The one idea that might be possible, at least conceptually, is just building a big wall on the Mexican border. And of course, we could debate whether that would actually do anything about the undocumented immigration problem in the U.S., but at least it's an idea that we can say, oh, okay, yeah, you get the building materials and you start building a wall. That's the only idea that seems to be on planet Earth of Trump's.
Yes, and I think that, hey, you know what? There would be a lot of construction jobs, job creation there. But still pretty silly. So, I don't think that would happen either.
I wonder, Trump's contractors have been caught employing undocumented immigrants on Trump projects. Imagine if Trump finally gets the wall going and there are undocumented immigrants building that wall.
It wouldn't surprise me if the wall was just completely built on the Mexican side by Mexicans. I mean,
Let's export, would all be hey, if he's having the suits made in Mexico, let's have the border wall manufactured and put up in Mexico as well. I mean, why stop?
Exactly. Labor would be so much cheaper. I think he would probably be all about that.
Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/dpakman, and follow producer Lewis on Twitter @LewisMotomedy. Lewis increasingly active on Twitter. We'll take a break. Lots happening after the break.